Welcome back. In this episode, Democrats unravel in real time as Eric Swalwell refuses to answer whether men will be allowed into women's locker room. A Minnesota fraud ring connected to Somali networks resurfaces, and a Biden-appointed judge frees a violent offender who tries to run over ICE agents. The New Orleans police chief gets federal law wrong on illegal immigration. And the White House press secretary silences Democrats spreading lies about Trump issuing illegal orders. And stay with me till the end. I'll be reading your comments live and responding directly to what you think about these stories. And don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe, and share this video. Let's get started with our first story. Now, Swalwell melts down over men in women's locker room. He refuses to answer a foundational question. Will biological men be allowed in women's spaces? And let's watch him dodge, pivot, and babble because they honestly can't tell the truth.
Are there going to be men allowed in the women's room anymore? We need to know.
No woman should be harassed in a locker room.
Answer straight. Are there going to be women? Are you against men in women's locker rooms and sports? That's all you need to answer.
I'm telling you, I
Please.
don't want men harassing you in a women's locker room.
I know.
That should not happen.
It's happening all around America. There are 45 women and there are 45 men in the women's prisons right now, raping them, picking them out like chickens. The trans men are not women, and they're raping women. So I don't care if you're on the Democrat side, the Republican side. We need to be on the women's side, people. It's happening to our girls. It's happening to our women. And I'm here to let everyone know that this is happening. Open your eyes.
I'm telling you.
Millions of people behind black people who they're using our civil rights to push this shit. If you want to be the governor, you need to do something about it, because I promise you this, I will not be the last to see of Tish. Okay?
So, have you noticed that somehow, whenever you find these kinds of confrontations or conversations, let's call it a conversation, and it's coming from a black person, it's hard for people who push these ideologies to respond because that black person is a member of a minority group, and it would be a bad look for them to attack them. So it's interesting to watch this play out. Now, the question that a lot of people have is whether the world is healing to the point where we can have these conversations and say, look, these things can't change. You can't change your biological sex on a wish and a prayer. It doesn't happen. It may involve you rewriting your genetic code. And right now, that isn't possible. Now, what do you think about this confrontation? Because on one hand, we have the lady saying what everyone is thinking, but has been afraid to talk about for the last few years. On the other hand, sometimes these confrontations look like grandstanding. So let me know your thoughts in the chat. We're going to finish up the other half of this video and then see how the confrontation ends.
Thank you. All right. I want to hear that. You're very handsome, by the way. Who? There are no trans kids. There are just children. Stop transforming children. No one can make a decision that young. When I was 12, I would have transformed. It's wrong. It's wrong. It's abuse. Don't trans children. It's abuse. Trans kids. There's no such thing. There's only men and women. Use your brain. Stop with this malarkey.
I also want you to know, as governor, I am not going to get distracted from the most important issue.
So I think this was a sideways way of Swalwell saying, I'm not going to get distracted even when people show up and tell me something that's common sense. I think that's a sideways way of saying it. The next thing you say after someone confronts you on an issue lets everyone else know what your real reaction is to that confrontation. So we see his reaction. We see that he refuses to actually um, give a straight answer on her question about men in women's spaces. Democrats appear to need this ambiguity, and it's how they force compliance, because it's more like, we didn't really say it, but if you don't do this, you're not compassionate. You want people to get hurt. You want people to get harmed. You're a bigot. They start throwing out these labels so that it forces you to let them do what they want to do in the public space. Now, here's a question for you. Should politicians be legally required to give direct answers on policies, okay, that affect regular people and families, like the gender policy laws? Okay, they go on the campaign trail, they say a whole lot of nothing, and when they get into office, when they do nothing, they have plausible deniability to say, well, we didn't promise you anything in the first place. That's where a lot of people give President Trump a lot of credit. He gave a lot of campaign promises, and within the first 11 months, out of 20 campaign promises he made, he's already fulfilled about 11 or 12. So let me know what you think about them being legally required to give a direct answer, because if they're going to campaign, tell you to give you their votes, and when they get into office, they turn out to not do anything, and they can basically say they didn't promise any of those things. That's something that maybe could be looked into. Let me know your thoughts. Is it extreme, or is it something that should actually be on the books? Now, speaking of Democrats refusing to answer simple questions, let's talk about Minnesota. Now, this afternoon, we looked at the judge who got a ruling or a decision from the jury, ignored the jury's decision, and freed the person who was convicted. Right now, that happened in Minnesota. Now, where the questions that they don't answer, which cost taxpayers millions and millions of dollars. For example, all right, now there's a Somali bribery and Medicaid fraud wave going on. We saw the videos earlier, and then we saw the report, and then we gave our reaction, and we have our concerns. We're going to watch a video that essentially stokes some of those concerns even more. We're going to look at one of the reactions from the communities in Minnesota. So you hear that there are people within this immigrant community who are essentially committing Medicaid fraud. It's been proven. A jury has already passed a decision to convict them. The judge has overturned it and let the person go. But here's the reaction of the people within that community.
Minnesota has been pointed out by the other speakers. We welcome our immigrant neighbors, and we treat them with respect, and we treat them with dignity. It's been 50 years since the Vietnam War, when we welcomed Hmong and Lao war veterans who fought alongside American forces during the secret war in Laos. They were welcomed into our communities. And during the 1990s, during the Somali Civil War, Minnesota again provided a safe, new home for families displaced by extreme violence. The Minnesota immigrant communities are making contributions that make our neighborhood and our nation a better place. Republicans continue to single out Democratic states that follow federal immigration law, turning our neighbors into scapegoats.
So is it the federal immigration law that allows illegal immigrants to vote? Is it the federal immigration law that looks the other way whenever immigrants commit crimes that regular citizens would be punished for? But when you attempt to punish an immigrant, it is a sign that you're not welcoming. Help me understand this. Like, I'm trying to understand what she's saying. We're talking about the president pointing out the fact that there are issues in these communities, and that the immigration services needs to take a second look about how these people have protected status. You come into the country as either refugees or some other as a protected class, and then you turn right around to defraud the country that welcomed you. Can you make that make sense, please?
To win votes. I'm ready to get to work, seriously, about fixing our broken immigration system. It's time for the Trump and Republicans to come to the table if they truly care about comprehensive reform that upholds American values and keeps our country safe. But instead, for months, Trump has been stoking tensions across the country with reckless and illegal mass deportations that violate the essence of America.
So remember that for the last couple of days, I've been covering the report about the Democrats who released that video telling the armed forces and intelligence community not to obey illegal orders. And I warned you that going forward, we're going to start seeing the Democrats using that phrase everywhere they go. This is example number one. She's already saying that taking undocumented, illegal immigrants off the street is illegal. That sending the National Guard, you're going to hear her talk about that, sending the National Guard into these communities where the local PD has refused to provide cover for the immigration services, ICE, that is equally illegal. So you're going to hear them saying this again and again. So keep an eye out or an ear open for that when it happens.
Due process. Across America, he is illegally deploying National Guard
Again,
at the cost of millions of dollars a day. In Washington, D.C., it's $1.3 billion a day for the deployed National Guard. Now, back to late Friday night, when he hurled an ugly late-night threat against Minnesota's Somali community. You have to ask yourself why. It's because Trump and Republicans are doing nothing to address the real crises facing us as Americans. The U.S. economy is in shambles, the cost of living is soaring, and the Trump and Republicans have created a healthcare crisis, and they failed to deliver on essential heating assistance for Minnesotans this winter. We know that when Donald Trump's in trouble, he always falls back to what he knows, throwing attacks and creating chaos. Americans deserve better than Trump's attacks and his misinformation about what's happening here in Minnesota.
Well, what we do know is that we have immigrants who run Medicaid scams, live big on the American tax dollar. And we also have reports that a chunk of that money is shipped off to Somalia. And there are concerns that a lot of it is winding up in the hands of Al-Shabaab, an Al-Qaeda-linked terror group. Look, whenever you hear the Democrats outraged over something that they perceive is happening, and they don't address the actual points of the accusations or the things that have been discovered, it should get you thinking. What don't they want us to talk about? What don't they want us to see? We covered the news of this yesterday. We talked about a bit of it the day before that or the live stream before that. It's exhausting to sit and watch them read a script, lie in our faces or to our faces. And then when we ask what exactly is going on, they attack and say that we are being hateful and that we don't care about immigrants. Now, just like the previous video, when an immigrant confronts these inconsistencies, the first thing they tell you is, why don't you talk about the country you came from? Don't talk about the United States. What happened to being welcoming? What happened to being welcoming? Okay. It is very interesting to watch. And if we have the time, I'm going to read a comment in the chat that says just that about what I'm doing. So it is the hypocrisy that I keep seeing, and I'm sure that you see it too.
Here's the reality. Crime is declining. We continue to be ranked as one of the best states to start a business and raise a family. And if Trump and House Republicans are serious about addressing the real challenges facing our country, they wouldn't be attacking. They would be listening to Minnesotans, seeing their healthcare premiums rise, struggling to afford Trump's tax on tariffs. And that affects everything from groceries to gas to heating. I want to be clear. An attack against one of us is an attack against all of us. So I'm proud to stand up for our Minnesota values today with my brothers and sisters. I thank Governor Walz and Attorney Keith Ellison for all that they do to move things forward in court.
All right, so let's talk about the court. Now, I played this video earlier today. I'm going to play it again today because it is one of those things that you just can't unsee. You can't unsee it. Okay, I thought this was cued. Hold on. You know, I'm gonna play this video again. All right, and one of the things that essentially upsets me is when people basically tell lies and expect all of us to go along with it. All right. I think I misplaced that that piece of footage. Essentially, it's on the ruling that happened earlier today or yesterday in Minnesota, where the jury found the immigrant running the Medicaid scam guilty, and then the judge overruled their decision and let the guy go. So these are the kinds of things that we see happening. Now, here's a video from a few years back, a flashback to when Republicans tried to address the issue of corruption and rampant fraud in Medicaid.
There are fraudsters. I'll wait for the laughs to subside. There are fraudsters who are watching what we're doing right now. And they're looking to see how we react to the pervasive and systemic fraud that is occurring within our state. And you know what's so sad about it is how they use compassion as a guise for their corruption. You go through the list of corrupt and fraudulent acts here in the state. You got Medicaid, folks who are struggling to pay their bills. You have Feeding Our Future, kids who are starving. You have child care assistance programs coming in at over $100 million. Families that can't get child care for their kids. You have New Way and Frontline Worker Bonus Pay, Evergreen Recovery Inc. See, now we're going to rip off the people that need substance abuse disorder treatments. We should be looking to help them right now. There are fraudsters.
Yeah, so when he starts giving this report, the audience laughs at him. And that's what happens whenever someone tries to point out a common sense observation. They mock you, they accuse you of being hateful, they accuse you of trying to target minority communities. Whenever the crimes are actually happening in minority communities, they say, you're targeting minority communities. It's the hypocrisy, and essentially, I'm going to bring back this word again. It's evil, because when you see something wrong happening and you attack the person who points it out, it really reveals who you are. And this report from Fox News complains about the very thing that we are saying. That when you point out something that's going wrong, the mainstream media, the Democrats, the leftists, people who are partisan to their policies start attacking.
Here to respond is the journalist who exposed this fraud ring, Chris Rufo, Manhattan Institute senior fellow. Also with me, John Justice, the great Minneapolis talk radio host. Chris, wow, everybody we just played there seems to be more outraged by the TPS being revoked from these so-called refugees than the cash they're allegedly sending over to the terror groups.
Yeah, that's right. And we know for sure there have been actual convictions at this point, and we're talking about billions of dollars that have been stolen from American taxpayers. And Ilhan Omar and the rest of them seem more outraged at those of us who reported on it, those of us who noticed it, and those of us who blew the whistle. But this scandal is not going away. I'm told by sources in Minnesota that there are dozens of these fraud schemes. There are investigations that are underway now. This might just be the tip of the iceberg, and this is probably the highest density of fraud anywhere in the United States. President Trump took the right action. I think a lot more needs to be done. He needs to review all of the refugee and citizenship applications for the Minnesota Somalis, and if there is any additional fraud, he needs to take action.
I think I agree. It gives immigrants everywhere a bad name whenever you have people who have been let into a country compassionately, kindly. You've been let into the country, and the next thing you do is you turn around and you begin to commit crimes. Okay, it gives immigrants everywhere a bad look, and it reduces the chances that they're able to have other people who desperately need that opportunity. It shuts the door on them. I don't know if this is clear to people who are watching, but whenever we point these things out, it is not because we're like, oh, look at how bad the Democrats are. It's the domino effect of these kinds of activities. It affects other people who may be coming to the United States, to do something legal, to give their kids a better life, to actually contribute to the American communities where they live. But you have people out there committing crimes and creating a whole lot of resistance to new immigrants being accepted into the country. We now have American conservatives or conservative voices out there saying there has to be a pause on immigration indefinitely until this whole thing about the open borders for 4 years is figured out. Now, that was not a conversation that I was aware of. If it was happening before, I never came across it. But now it's rampant because over 10 million undocumented immigrants surged into the country, and that has to be fixed. And while President Trump is trying to fix it, they attack him and say that he's being manipulative, he's being wicked, he's being mean, and so on, and that he's pointing at that whenever he's in trouble in the polls. Well, that's what the Democrats say. Now, here's a report that ties into what we covered earlier on the judge who let the convicted, at least the jury convicted him, but the judge decided, I'm not going to listen to the jury of his peers. I'm going to let him go, okay, because I feel like the case wasn't fair or something. He said that there was evidence that was inconclusive, and he let the guy go. Now, one of the people, one of you in the chat, asked a question: is it that he got bribed or the judge got bribed? And I said, well, we don't know. But this video we're about to watch shows that there has been cases where briberies were discovered. Let's have a listen.
We learned that an unknown woman showed up at the home of a juror.
That unknown woman, U.S. Attorney Andy Lugar says, is 31-year-old Ladin Ali. Ali and 4 men are now charged with a rare crime, corruptly influencing a juror.
Corruption of a jury through intimidation or bribery is a serious federal crime that carries a significant prison sentence.
In Lugar's press conference Wednesday, he highlighted how Ali flew to Minnesota from Seattle, where she also has ties.
Juror 52 leaving a parking ramp.
Lugar says Ali surveilled the youngest and only juror of color, following her home from the courthouse. Over 3 days, Ali allegedly drove by Juror 52's Spring Lake Park home 19 times. This heat map, created by the FBI, shows the amount of time Ali spent near the juror's home, according to her rental car's GPS data. Directed by 4 men, including 3 standing trial for stealing more than $40 million from the federal child nutrition program during the pandemic, the defendants are accused of a sophisticated plot to get to Juror 52 with money. Then,
so in other words, they targeted a juror who was a juror of color, because they always go after the whole thing about, oh, we're the same race. You can't decide against me. And hey, we're going to make it worth your while. Here's a bunch of money. Well, she got caught, and the other people have been implicated. This is the kind of thing that happens in third world countries. It happens in Nigeria. If you have people from different tribes on a case, and there happens to be a judge from one of those 2 tribes, that judge tends to lean in favor of the tribe of the person who is from his tribe. And that is one of the things that people drag from third world countries into Western countries, as we can see in this case. It is infuriating for me to watch. It's infuriating for me to own up to it. But honestly, this is appalling. It is insulting for the individuals we watched during the first video of this segment, talking about how that the Republicans are targeting these people. These people are committing crimes, corrupting jurors. We have judges overturning the decision of the jury. What on earth are we talking about here? Honestly, what are we talking about? If people are more concerned that this whole situation, it looks bad, and therefore it must be racist or driven by partisanship, that's insane. If something is wrong, you call it out. If it's not wrong, then you sit your butt down, make a decision, and keep the civilization going. What people don't realize is that it is little snowballs like this that eventually cause an avalanche that destroys everything that the United States is built on. Right? So in the end, you see that this is not an isolated case of fraud. It is organized crime involving bribed jurors, possibly a bribed judge, okay, who overturned a conviction, at least one that we know of, over $14 million in fraud. So a Somali network funneling stolen money overseas, and Democrats are angrier at the people who report it than at the criminals. It is insane to say out loud, but that is what we just watched. So let me know your thoughts on this. Do you believe the Minnesota fraud scandals are isolated after everything you've seen and heard, or part of a larger systemic breakdown? Okay, let me know your thoughts in the chat. And this brings us to the next piece of insanity, because Democrats aren't just ignoring crime. Their judges are releasing criminals. Yeah, and then blaming it on Donald Trump. It's insane. Okay, but before we talk about that, if you like the easygoing tone of my commentary and the news without all the outrage and all the screaming and cussing and everything, well, please consider liking this video and subscribing. If you can, donate with a super chat or join the membership. Now, if you don't do anything but watch and chat, I'm grateful for that too. And I'm very grateful and thank you for your support. Now, let's jump into the third story. Now, a Biden judge just freed a violent attacker who tried to run over ICE agents. Yeah, you heard right. So we're going to watch this report, and then you let me know what you think, because I'm going to give you my commentary. Believe that. Yeah, so that was the guy in a U-Haul truck trying to run over ICE agents and break through a barrier. You know, everyone is a superhero now, because the Democrats told them that ICE is the Gestapo. So when you weaponize mentally unstable people who listen to TDSBC and rent a U-Haul and use the U-Haul to back up into an ICE barricade trying to run over these people, that's a problem. Now, here's the case. Okay, first of all, this is a man who is pretending to be a woman. Second of all, he attempts to use a U-Haul as a weapon against ICE. And then this federal judge, a Biden appointee, frees him. It's caught on camera. Everyone saw it. The people who captured him and arrested him, reported on it. But just like the case we saw in Minnesota, a federal judge, a Biden-appointed judge, frees the guy. You're free to go because you were attacking the Gestapo. It is these kinds of signals that sends more messaging to everyone else out there who is mentally unstable to say, you guys have free reign to attack federal agents. When I talk about the video that was, released by the Democrat Party over the weekend, and I'm so animated about it, it was the same way I was animated when James Comey released that photo of seashells on the beach that were arranged to say 8647. And everyone said, well, it didn't mean anything. And I said in the video where I covered it that this is a dog whistle to the insane out there, that it is okay because someone of James Comey's status is telling you that it's okay to do this. And I'm sure there were people who watched and said, well, you're just making a mountain out of a molehill. Now we're seeing the violence breaking out. We're seeing ICE agents being shot at from rooftops. We're seeing them mobbed at the ICE facilities. We're seeing it happen. So when we say these things that are being done are dangerous, it's going to cause someone to get hurt. It's all about human psychology. If you have children, you know that children, they test you. They test you to see if you're serious about the instructions you gave, if you're serious about discipline, and if you show any weakness, if you show that there's latitude and they can do whatever they like, they continue pushing the envelope. And that's what we're seeing in the public space. So essentially, from everything that we're seeing right now, do we still have a justice system in the United States? Do we have a justice system, or do we have ideology courts where people who share the same ideology with the judge are freed whenever they come into the court system, and those who don't share the same ideology with the judge get the book thrown at them? So here's a question I have for you. Should federal judges face consequences for releasing violent offenders tied to immigration crimes or tied to any crime? Let's not just limit it to immigration, but just to any crime at all. Let me know in the chat. And if you thought that was bad, wait until you hear what the New Orleans police chief said about illegal immigration. These people are just nuts.
Our confirmation from the judge that we are formally out of the consent decree, but along the way I have preferred to use the term that we've graduated. We have taken back our own ownership of our agency. To be in the country undocumented is civil issue. We will not enforce civil law. And so our support is to make sure they're not going to get hurt and our community is not in danger.
So according to this law enforcement officer at a press conference, when people break into your country, it's a civil issue. They violated the federal borders of your country. And when you break or you violate the federal borders of a country, you broke federal law. It's not a civil issue. It's a criminal issue. So we have these people yet again sending out these signals. It's okay to break the law. All right. So this police chief has essentially ran cover for everyone in her under her jurisdiction, saying what you did isn't a crime. All right. It's a civil offense. Don't worry about it. And what they do when they do this is that they give these people false hope. They give them false hope. If there were people who were meant to go through the system and try to get their paperwork in order, they relax and they don't do anything about it. Right? There has to be a sense of urgency for you, if you're in the country illegally, to fix it. All right, fix it. Don't just cower and hide and get paid under the table. You have to fix it. And statements like this create this false security. Now, what she did is blatant misinformation. First of all, crossing the border illegally is a federal crime under 8 USC 1325. It's a US statute. Go look it up. Democrats simply don't believe in the law when it inconveniences their ideology or their agenda. Because, of course, people have said that they want to pander to these illegal immigrants who are in the country, figure out a way to keep them in there, and then to use that to buy their votes. Now, let me know what you think in the chat, okay? Is this deliberate ignorance on her part or a strategic deception to protect illegal immigration? Let me know what you think in the chat, all right? And now the story that ties everything together, Democrats weaponizing the military narrative against Trump. I've referenced it several times. I've talked about this story. It upsets me, okay? It upsets me. And if you are a believer in the sovereignty and in the sanctity of the military, not sovereignty of the military, but in the sovereignty of the United States and the sanctity of the armed forces, because they literally put their bodies in the way of bullets to protect you. You have to have a certain sense of allegiance to the armed forces for what they do for your democracy, and you also should have a sense of outrage when people are trying to break the sanctity of that organization. The press secretary and media have been clashing over this narrative of illegal orders. Now let's watch CNN spin the narrative yet again, as Abby Phillips tells us that President Trump always wanted to do this.
This idea of dragging back retired military members and court-martialing them, I think people should remember this is actually something Trump has wanted to do in the past. Now that they're actually threatening to do it in this context, what do you think?
I think it's insane. I think it's cuckoo crazy that Donald Trump, I'm so glad that Mark Kelly is a naval aviator and an astronaut, because we are living in the twilight zone. I mean, it makes zero sense that Donald Trump would be so triggered by a video of people saying, basically, don't break the law, don't do something illegal. I don't know, somebody goes out and does a video, don't, rob a bank.
Don't drink and drive.
This is not something that should be triggering. And his overreaction to this. And then.
All right, so Ms. Navarro, as usual, carrying the spirit of The View into Abby Phillips's panel. What they did was carefully frame a message that had some degree of plausible deniability. This president is pitching armed forces against American citizens. They said it during the video. You have an obligation to disobey illegal orders. They said it in the video. They carefully put several statements partitioned by very inane statements to frame something that will do damage in the psyche of whoever listens to it. Anyone who is self-aware and intelligent understands when or knows when they are being manipulated. And that was a manipulative video. Ms. Navarro, as usual, on the side of the Democrats, they can do no wrong. And she's basically saying that President Trump is insane for being triggered by that video. Because the Democrats essentially have gathered onto themselves people who just don't want to think. They just want to react based on what they are told by the people in their party.
Calling Mark Kelly, who is a patriot, a national hero, a naval aviator that flew 39 combat missions in the Gulf War, and for Captain Bone Spurs to be impugning Mark Kelly like this over the stupidest thing, it just makes no sense. And I really think it's a moment that it should be a moment of unity where we all say, God, you're going overboard. I mean, Republican or Democrat, it just makes no damn sense.
All right. So while you're trying to force people who can think for themselves to think the way you want them to think. Let's have a listen to Carolyn Levitt. All right.
Answer. Well, I'm sorry, with all due respect, wrong answer. He has white latitude on strikes. Ask Barack Obama and drone strikes. Ask George W. Bush and drone strikes. The commander-in-chief is given, no, there's no buts to it. The commander-in-chief is given white. No Supreme Court is going to put themselves in the Situation Room and make a decision for the commander-in-chief, Democratic or Republican.
He was responding to the soundbite from Melissa Slotkin there. What's the White House take on how this whole thing has evolved, and now this news that Mark Kelly could undergo investigation?
Well, we believe it's deeply unfortunate that these Democrat senators made this egregious and completely irresponsible statement. And let's be very clear, Martha, these Democrat senators knew exactly what they were doing. It's not a coincidence that all of them have military or national security experience in their background. They were leaning into that experience to try and give a wink and a nod to the 1.3 million active duty service members who serve in our United States Armed Forces, and essentially encourage them to defy the orders of their commander-in-chief, which is illegal, by the way. Let me be very clear. Not a single order this president or administration has given to our military has ever been illegal, nor will it ever be. This administration respects and abides by the law, and these officials know it. They are trying to sow chaos and distrust, which is a very dangerous thing to do within the military's ranks. The sanctity of our military respects and relies on law and order and the chain of command. And that's what this administration is trying to say. And that's why the Department of War opened up this investigation against Senator Mark Kelly today.
Yeah. You have to wonder at this point if they retro.
So she essentially sets the record straight. We just have to be honest about what we're hearing. We try to be honest when the Republicans mess up and do things that we don't like. We also need to be honest when Democrats do something we don't like and not play these games. Navarro claimed that, they did nothing wrong. Listen to the video, you know what they're saying, and you're hoping that no one picks up on it. And then when we pick up on it, why are you reacting that way? Oh, we didn't say they should disobey orders. We only said they could if they felt it was, unlawful. And then we played a video earlier where we already see the Democrats using the word unlawful for National Guard deployments to curb crime in blue cities, the deployment of ICE to arrest and deport undocumented and illegal immigrants in the country. They're using it, they're poisoning the well, and then they're telling us that, we don't know what we're, seeing, that we're confused, that we're triggered, that we are cuckoo. So this is coming up again and again. This conversation is ongoing. She also said that, President Trump arresting, or let's say the Department of War having a court-martial on Mark Kelly is crazy. It is a military statute. It's out there. Okay, go if you can read, and I believe you read because you read teleprompters. I'm referring to the ladies of The View and the people on the CNN panel. You guys can read up the statutes, and Mark Kelly is actually liable to be recalled and court-martialed for what he said to 1.3 million active duty armed forces operatives. So not one illegal order has been given from Trump. Every time he's been challenged, it's been pushed up to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has essentially handed him win after win after win. And I think out of over 20 cases that he has taken he has appealed at the Supreme Court level, he has only lost maybe 2. So that doesn't look like someone who is breaking the law. He's appealing to the courts. The courts are answering and letting him know what he can and cannot do. The Democrats are lying openly to stir distrust among the military, which is very dangerous. Let's just put it that way. and many people think that this is a strategy. It's not confusion. They may feign confusion, not knowing what they're doing, but it looks like a strategy because already, like I said, we've already started seeing the narrative about most of the things he did being unlawful out there. It is creating confusion. It is going to start sending out a sense of mixed messaging among the ranks of the military. We're going to start having some very interesting conversations in the days to come. So one more question for you. Do you think Democrats intentionally used the illegal orders narrative to provoke a military rebellion? Because what else do you think they're trying to do? It's just a question. Will we see one? I don't think we will. But do you think that it's possible that that could be an issue? All right. Let me know in the chat. Now, speaking of strategy, we have one more story. It's just one of those stories out there, man on the street reports. And part of what we see is these rallies and riots that want to resist Trump. They have these crazy cosplay conventions on the streets. And Nick Shirley goes out there and he tries to talk with one of them, with some of them, to see what they're trying to accomplish with their rallies. And here's what he discovered.
No one talked to this loser. No one talked to him.
Oh, ma'am. Why are you so angry?
I'm not. I'm just telling people not to waste their oxygen and give you oxygen.
Oh,
You're just here to troll people.
I breathe no matter what, so.
Okay, well, I'm just saying no one needs to give you oxygen. You're just
And
here to troll us.
And I'm not here to troll anybody. I'm just asking you guys what you guys are doing out here today, or what the protest is about.
Demand the impeachment, conviction, and removal of not only President Trump, but his entire corrupt, whatever they're called, the whole administration. Okay, and if you, I'm not going to discuss it any further, but if you continue to harass people.
Oh, I haven't harassed anybody.
Well, we're going to be following you, so just leave people alone, okay?
With your CBS News. Then, you know,
Okay.
people will talk to you.
Okay, amazing. So, but what do you guys want him to be impeached for?
Get out. Leave my wife alone.
Oh, I'll leave your wife alone. I don't want to touch your wife. I don't want nothing to do with his wife. Yes, ma'am.
If you would go down by the reflection pool and listen to the speakers who have knowledge of why we are all here, you might actually learn something. Have a nice day.
Oh, you have such a great smile, ma'am.
Why are these people so nasty? Why are they so nasty? Why are they so angry? Why are they so angry? Like, you hear them talk and you can hear that bitterness, the bile coming out of the, seeping through the words. Like, anytime they see someone who doesn't agree with them, they just attack them. He's trying to have a conversation. They claim he's trolling them and he's having a very civil conversation, asking questions. All they have to do is respond. And because they know that they pander to low information voters who don't know what's going on, all they know are the talking points that they see on mainstream media. They parrot these talking points and they don't even know the facts. And when they're pressed on the facts, they always face plant every single time. So now they've gotten smarter by on camera telling people not to engage in free speech conversations. Don't talk to him. Don't talk to him. He's a troll. Don't talk to him. That's what they do. You never see this happening in conservative circles. I think most conservatives are quite well informed about what's going on with their party of choice, candidate of choice, policies of choice. That's what I think. I feel very disappointed whenever I see stuff like this. I see elderly people who should actually have a good head on their shoulders acting like children. At this location, nearly 1,000 protesters calling for the impeachment of Donald Trump before he has even done anything. It's a purely partisan move to attempt to make President Trump look bad without him having done anything. So this doesn't look like activism. Sometimes some people say that it feels like preemptive sabotage. Okay, that's what some people feel like it is. All right, so let me know in the chat, why do you think the anti-Trump movement is growing before Trump takes action on anything? Okay, when someone tells you, I'm preparing for when you do something wrong, is that a good faith relationship? Just like we continue hearing from the people on that video that say, oh, we're only preparing the military for that time when Trump will tell them to do something illegal. It's clear you're not dealing with a good faith relationship. You're not having a good faith engagement with the people that you're talking with. All right. Now we're going to be looking into the comment section, and then we're going into the chat. All right, so we have something in the chat, but if you are watching, please let me know your thoughts in the chat. We're going to just read an account. Sorry, give me a second. So we're going to read several comments. So this commenter says, I think they were trying to say Maxine, but they said Maxwell. Maxine lies like the rest of the Democrats. Okay, now I like people who comment to actually give some facts and lay out their arguments. I don't encourage it with people who argue against things that I've said, and I don't want to encourage it for people who argue for the things that I'm saying. So if you're going to leave a comment in the chat or in the comments section, try to give more detail to what you're trying to say. All right, give me a sec. I need to make this bigger. Okay. MotoGP 3903 on the same video, commenting on the same video, says this. I was born and raised in, okay, hold on. I'm sorry, guys. I just need to make sure that this video is, oops, I'm sorry. I want to apologize for for the way okay, oops, sorry. Okay. Oh, geez. All right, there you are. All right, sorry about that little break. I was born and raised in Havana until the age of 16 when I came to the States, thank God. All these socialists react the same way when confronted with the truth. They've been lying to destroy America for a while. Never been closer than they are now, in my opinion. Thanks for sharing. I share the concerns that a lot of people have about what's going on with all of these socialist-leaning impressions and tendencies and language and activities. I share it. Let's see. Okay, so I don't know if I read this out the last time, did I? Okay, yeah, I did. I don't want to read the response. Okay, I'm going to read the response. Okay, no, that's a waste of your time. I'm sorry. I'm just seeing these and I'm like, do I share it with you? Do we talk about it? But let's just move on. Okay, let's see. Boom. We read this. Okay. Let's see. This is JD Engineering responding to this video. Says, let us think about this logically. How many spam phone calls have you gotten in the past month or even week? If you have aging or ill parents and are dealing with their social security, health insurance, Medicare or Medicaid, it's a lot. How do they get your information? Because federal government or members inside the Social Security Agency administration are selling the information of all the senior citizens. Why? Because they are vulnerable and scammers can easily prey on them. Every day, my father gets an average of 30 fake calls from these India-based phone scammers claiming that they are calling about his Medicare. Every single one of these phone calls are from spoofed numbers from his area code. One time, the number just happened to line up with one of our family members. My father answered, expecting to talk with his sister, and it ending up being John Smith from somewhere in Calcutta. If the government is claiming that the phones are secure enough to entrust with your vote, they are full of absolute BS. I would expect nothing less out of Eric Swalwell. He wouldn't know a Chinese spy if one landed on top of him. Wait, that happened. Okay, this was a long read. But it was a good one. JD Engineering, priceless. I'm going to comment on this later when I'm not live. All right, guys. We are on the, let's see, I'm going to close this up. All right, so we are almost at the hour mark. I'm going to read the comments. At least we have one comment in the chat, and I'm going to read it from Canary Kin. The Dems are really enjoying trolling Trump. I think they are. This attracted the reaction that they expected from Trump. And I think Trump knew what he was doing when he responded the way he did. It wasn't a brash, rah-rah reaction. He's losing his mind over this thing. The response that Trump gave was calculated, and it was engineered to get an outraged response from the media and from the Democrats, and they took the bait. That's what I believe. He didn't say much. He just said, this is sedition, and legally it is punishable by death. He didn't say he wanted to execute anyone. He just said, this is the crime that was committed by this video going out, and I think this is the punishment for it. And then he steps back and everyone goes nuts over it. So yes, they are enjoying trolling him, but I think his response got the kind of reaction that he expected to have. Well, thank you for hanging out with me yet again today. I love having these sessions where we go through the news, we look at what's going on, and then we respond to it by making commentary. And then you let me know in the comment section, like we just read, or in the chat while I'm making these videos. I love live streaming with you, watching and responding. Sometimes there's lots of engagement. Sometimes it's quiet because it's late and people are putting their kids to bed, or people are tired after the day. It's fine. But thank you for being a part of my world. Again, I'd like to ask you to please consider liking the video, sharing the video. If you enjoy the laid back, outrage-free commentary that I present in this in my videos on this channel, please consider subscribing to the channel. And if you feel like it, and if you're able to, please consider donating to the channel by sending in a super chat or a super thank, or by joining the channel's membership. Now, before I go, I set up a poll in the on the YouTube side. All right, so if you're watching on Rumble, Kick, or Twitch, you wouldn't see the poll, but on the YouTube side, the poll is available. And the poll reads, why do you think that Democrats intentionally avoid questions about men entering women's bathrooms? And I have two answers. 50% says they know the public disagrees. The second says because it exposes their agenda. And I think they're both right. I think they're both right. Okay, if you didn't take the poll and you're outraged about this response, well, you should have taken the poll. So next time when we go live and we put out a poll, please jump in there and let your voices be heard. So thanks for being a part of this live stream. We're basically done with all the stories that we've covered. The stories have been very insightful on what's going on out there. And essentially, one of the things that it shows us is that we should all be interested and involved in local elections. Whenever you see these kinds of crimes happening where judges, DAs, and local representatives say the kind of things we saw with the statements made in Minnesota about a crime that took place, and the only response you get is leave our immigrant community alone, you're being hateful. It shows that the people who are being elected essentially don't love those communities. They won't stop until the laws that built up those beautiful communities get eradicated and those places become hellholes. So let's keep talking about this. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section and in the chat. I go live every day, every weekday at noon and at 9 p.m. Eastern, noon Eastern, 9 p.m. Eastern. I'd love for you to be a part of the live stream so we can chat and have these conversations while the news is being presented. Well, thank you for hanging out, and I'll see you on the next one. Until next time, God bless you. Welcome to Headlines and History, live news reactions and your views. We're about to go live soon, so grab your spot and get ready for a sharp, balanced take on today's biggest news stories with a dash of historical insight. Stay tuned. Each week, we tackle the headlines that matter: politics, economics, global events with a balanced lens. We'll react live, tie today's stories to historical moments, and spotlight your views in the chat. From trade talks echoing the 1990s to crises recalling 2008, we're here to unpack it all. Your voice drives the show. Share your thoughts or historical parallels in the live chat, and we'll dive into the best ones. It's news, context, and community all in 1 hour. We're moments away from launching Headlines and History. Stick around for live reactions, historical nuggets, and your chance to chime in. Hit the notification bell, prep your comments, and let's make sense of the news together. See you soon.